And at the bottom you see two programs that my team collaborates, which are Registrant Program and Universal Acceptance. So we will finish with glancing at these programs with the support, and then we will have some time, hopefully, for your questions. So Global Support Center, can we upwards? Yeah. A Global Support Center is operated under the Global Domains Division Department of ICANN, which we call as GDD. So our goal is to continuously deliver high-quality services best represents ICANN's brand. And ICANN's global support team consists of 10 people across 3 hubs, namely Singapore, Istanbul, and Los Angeles, which is our head office. So thanks to these diverse locations, we can provide follow the sun support, which means so Singapore starts the work first. As they reach to the end of the day, then Istanbul team, including me, starts working to handle the cases and questions that are coming from the Middle East and Africa region or Europe region as well. And then before we finish the day, then our Los Angeles service, and 5 days a week, 24 hours a day. So who are contacting to global support? Registry operators, registrars, new GTLD applicants, registrants, internet community at large, and general public. Our well, they are contacting us via multiple channels, via email most of the time, which is globalsupport@icann.org. If you send an email, then it will be directly responded by us, or if it's a very complex question, then we make sure that we follow the escalation management processes to direct your question to the right team and make sure that your question is resolved and responded in a timely fashion. Our phone support is in 6 UN languages, which are English, French, Spanish, Russian, Chinese, and Arabic. And you can also contact us via phone, web form, and especially for contracted parties, they can also contact us via the naming services portal, which we call as NSP. And our performance metrics are published on ICANN's website, and you can see how we perform there. And we also provide booth services at ICANN events and ICANN meetings, so you will be seeing me outside at the booth. And if you have any questions about ICANN or with this session, please do not hesitate to visit our booth. So the following slides onwards will include some terminology that might not be easy for everyone, especially for the newcomers to know, and they might not be familiar with. So that's why I will actually start with defining these role players in the DNS ecosystem. So when you register a domain name, if you are registering a domain name, then it means that you are the registrant. And as a registrant, you have at least 2 options, either to register the domain name through a registrar, through an ICANN accredited registrar, or through a reseller. So once you register a domain name, you will also need a hosting provider to make your website online on web. And registrar, as we call, is an organization that is accredited by ICANN and certified by the registry operator to sell domain names under their top-level domain name. Reseller is an organization that is affiliated or under the contract with the registrar and usually offer other services such as hosting or email boxes as such. And resellers and hosting providers have no contractual obligations with ICANN. They are not accredited by us. When it comes to the registry operators, they are responsible for maintaining the registry. In other words, the authoritative master database for the top-level domain name. So to make it more simple, let's take the domain name as an example, .com. So registry operators are in charge of managing the right part of the dot of a domain name, whereas the registrars are managing the left part of the domain name. And now we can move on to the second topic in the agenda. So here are the numbers. Can we move it down? Yeah. So here are the number of issues logged for the last 1 year between July 2018 till June 2019. So more than 19,000 cases have been logged, and 18,300 of these were handled by Global Support Center. And we have answered to 3,099 phone calls. In total, contracted parties created 3,900 cases with us. And based on the feedback we received via our surveys, we maintained average satisfaction score of 4 out of 5 for the question, how satisfied are you with the service you received from ICANN? Yeah, the regional information here, you can see more detailed information about Africa. So before we dive deep into the regional stats, I'd like to clarify that we don't specifically log the country information for the cases that we receive. So only 37% of the cases we receive have the country information. And you see the slides here only covering those data that have the country information. So 46% of the contracted party cases that have the country information came from North America. Then Europe follows with 30%. Asia Pacific is accounted for 21% of the cases, 2% from Latin America, and 1% of cases that have the country information are from Africa region. So when we look at this 1% portion in this big chart, there are 16 cases coming from 3 Africa regional contracted parties, and their inquiries are grouped under 2 main topics. One is for requesting to change the contact information, the TLD roles, in the naming services portal, which they access to communicate with ICANN. And the second one is to ask for help in accessing to that portal. So in the bottom chart, in the blue one, you see how many cases we have received for the last 1 year from Africa region. In total, we have 72 cases, and more than half of them are from the domain name registrants who registered the domain names, and 22% are from the general public and from the contracted parties per each. So all ICANN accredited registry operators and registrars are contracted parties, have access to the naming services portal by default. And if they wish, they can ask Global Support Center to add additional users to access this portal. So why naming services portal is important and what features does it offer? For registry operators, it allows you to see the registry technical information, and the credentialed users can see all the cases that are submitted under their account and for their TLDs, for their top-level domain names. And also recently, the centralized zone data file system was migrated with this portal, which allows the registry operators to see how many zone file requests have been submitted, and there you can either approve or deny these zone file requests. And Yeah, you see at the bottom a screenshot from the naming services portal. So when you create a new case, you have a list of options. So if you submit a general inquiry, then it is directly routed to the Global Support Center. And we make sure that we will respond to your question in a timely fashion. But at the bottom, you see other options, which are called as service requests. So the common routine processes that most registries go through are structured on these service requests. And if you choose one of these, let's say annual certification of compliance, then it is directly routed to the related team, which is the compliance department. So these are the features for registries so far. And when it comes to registrars, their accounts are recently migrated to, well, let's say 1 year ago, they were migrated to the portal. That's why they don't have the same features as registries do. At this time, registrars cannot log a case through this portal. They use different systems. And, but they can see the list of compliance tickets that are submitted for the registrars. Yeah, we can move on. Yeah. So this is the program that Global Support team, as well as the other teams within the ICANN's departments, are collaborating together and with the help of the community as well. This is called as Registrant Program. The program is truly cross-functional team effort, and people, well, my colleagues from Global Support, compliance, registrars and registry engagement teams, as well as global stakeholder engagement and policy colleagues doing outreach and capacity building within the community around the world. First, quickly, may I see the hands? How many of you have registered domain name as a registrant? Okay, this is very useful for the registrants, but it is also equally important for register operators and registrars as well to understand what issues and challenges your clients are experiencing. So you already know one side of the story when your clients contact your own customer service departments. But what if your registrant doesn't know who their registrar is, or who their reseller is, or what these things are mean actually? So even if they know who their registrar is, if they don't get hold of their registrar, then they contact Global Support Center of ICANN most of the times. So on our side, your clients have other experiences with their domain names that are registered with you and you are not involved in. So the customer experience is a total of these two sides. That is why this program is important for registrars, registry operators, to look at their customers' experiences from a 360 degrees. I think we missed. So this one, yeah. So, yeah, the primary goals of the registrant program are twofold. The first one is being the education, so creating materials and conducting outreach around educating registrants and about their rights and responsibilities, the domain name ecosystem that includes registries, registrars, resellers as such, and ICANN's policies that are impacting them. All of these materials can be found on icann.org/registrants. The second complementary goal and more long-term one is to identify together with the community and raise awareness about issues and challenges that the registrants are facing. So we understand that there will be always new issues coming up with the registrants, and so we are also trying to listen to the community at large, advisory committee, non-commercial stakeholder group, registrar stakeholder group, registry stakeholder group, and open community sessions at ICANN meetings and registrars themselves. And we'd like to hear more cross-community discussions about these topics so that we can help address them. And the ICANN organization is periodically publishing quantitative data from our touch points with registrars to inform the community about these issues. Yes, we can move on. Who are we talking about? There are millions of registrants around the world. Obviously, our educational materials are not for domain name investors or ICANN insiders, but rather for the registrants that have only 1 or 2 domain names and who are running small business perhaps or personal blog. On icann.org/registrants page, the registrant program team, which works under the GDD department as a registrant services strategic program team, they publish these blogs for every registrant need to know. On the second part, in the second slide, yeah, here. So this is the program's secondary goal. On 29th of April 2019, ICANN published the second edition of the report, Issues and Challenges Impacting Domain Name Registrants report. And this report includes data from various groups within ICANN, including the Global Support Center, Compliance Department, the Contractual Compliance Department, and the Office of Ombudsman. Yeah, we can move on. So these are the registrants that are contacting to ICANN Global Support Center, small and medium-sized business owners. They consider their website to be mission critical and revenue impacting, and usually they have a heightened sense of urgency. They consider their website to be very important, and when their domain name, let's say, suspended, their businesses are also impacted with this, or if they have another issues, then their businesses are affected because of these things. So many of them are unaware of the internet ecosystem that consists of ICANN registrars, registries, and hosting providers, resellers, et such, and they don't even know who to contact, how to perform the whois, and who the registrar is. That's why we usually start with educating them about how to perform whois. We sometimes walk them through on the whois page how they can find their registrar and the detailed information about their domain name. Okay, move on. So I'm going to present some data here from our global support that is included in the report that is published on issues and challenges that our registrants are impacted. Yeah, approximately 70% of the inquiries that we receive come from the registrants. And the chart here categorizes main drivers for inquiries received by global support during the period of June to December 2018. In total, around 10,000 registrant cases were logged, and during this period, 66% of them revolved around 5 topics. What are these? So 23% are about domain name management, which includes domain name transfers to another registrant or to another registrar. Renewing domain names, including the domain names that had expired. General domain name registration questions, country code top-level domain name issues, and other type of general registrar customer service issues are categorized here. 18% of the cases we received are related to whois. So registrants usually call us to ask such questions. My domain name is suspended. Are you the one who suspended? can you please release my domain name? Who suspended this? How can I verify my domain name? I have already verified my domain name, but it is still suspended. Can you please expedite this process? And when I'm trying to open my website, it says it is pending ICANN verification. What should I do? So these are the type of questions that we receive from the registrants. 12% are about right protection. That includes the questions like my trademark is infringed. There are some domain names that is very similar to my domain name. How can I get this? And uniform domain name dispute resolution policy questions. That is a kind of right protection mechanism to solve this kind of issues. 7% of the inquiries received are about domain abuse, which are related to website content. And people are asking about taking down a domain name for ICANN. So if there are some abusive contents or if their copyright is infringed by a domain name, then they are asking us to take down a domain name, although we don't have any control and authority on such these things. And 5% of the inquiries are related to new GTLD, the new generic top-level domain name inquiries, and they're asking the top-level domain names launch dates, registering a new GTLD, or universal acceptance issue. So some of the questions are due to the ICANN's policies that impact the registrants, whereas some of them are not within our remit. In fact, most of the questions can only be solved most of the times at the registrar level, but the registrants don't even know who their registrar is. When we look at the chart below that shows the regional information of these inquiries, the majority comes from North America, which is 63%. Then it is followed by Europe and Asia Pacific with 17% each. Latin America accounted for 2%, and 1% of them contacted from Africa region. Right. So what we do when they contact us? So when the registrants are registering the domain names, they sometimes forget where they registered the domain, or they usually prefer to the website developers to do such things. So that's why they don't even have control on their own domain names. And we provide them actually first of all, we identify what their issue is, and then direct them to the right organization to solve this issue, or we educate them with the related materials. And let's say if their domain name is suspended due to the failure of verification, we perform a WHOIS search together and identify the registrar and reseller, and we even provide their contact information, and then we let them know what course of actions they need to follow. And if they still have any issues, and if they're even though they read all the registration agreement terms and conditions, then we also provide them with the related complaint form that they can submit to compliance department. Yeah. So we can move on. Okay. So we don't have much time, so I will skip the rest of the slides quickly. The universal acceptance is the last topic, and this is the program that's global support team as well as many other teams are collaborating with. Tomorrow, our IDN's director, Sarmat Hussein, will have a session that will who will provide you the essence of the universal acceptance. So I will just skip very quickly here. Yeah. So Many systems don't recognize the domain names and email addresses that are ending with top-level domain names that have more than 3 characters in length, or that have non-ASCII characters like this here in Chinese or in other languages. And universal acceptance is a state where all valid domain names are treated equally and consistently by all internet-enabled applications, devices, and systems. And we can move on to the next. Started in October 2016, and we support the issues that are submitted on usag.tech website. As Global Support Center here, our objective is to reach out to the website developers, provide them with relevant resources about universal acceptance, new GTLDs, and the internationalized domain names that will facilitate them to become universal acceptance ready. Then it is up to the website developer to implement such improvements to make their websites universal acceptance ready. No matter how we are keen to rooting out these issues and problems, we cannot force them or we cannot enforce them about updating their systems and websites. But we track the report to the issues and send status updates